I'll start. Welcome with Matthew Olson, the Dean of Liberal Arts.
Great one.
Yay, Matthew.
Hey, that applause is really touching, I would say. Thank you guys for coming out on this beautiful, fantastic fall day for one of the fantastic events that happens through the Creative Writing Department and the English Department. This is Slam the Vote, so I'm really looking forward to hearing some of your poetry and some of your fiction. One of my favorite things to do is to come and to hear student work and to hear some of the faculty work as well. So also don't forget, when you're slamming the vote, to actually go and actually vote on Tuesday, November 8th, right? Pluralistic democracy and all that stuff. Okay, so welcome aboard and looking forward to this.
There we go. Thank you, Matthew. I'm Professor Tom Laughlin of the Creative Writing Program. This event, Slam Your Vote, Open Poetry, Fiction, Reading, and Contest, is sponsored by the Creative Writing Program and the Office of Student Engagement. I want to thank a few people who have helped us out, Steve Rossi and Shannon Carroll of the Office of Student Engagement, our Dean of Liberal Arts, Matthew Olson, Francois DeCostard, and his staff here today, Emily and Sam, doing some videoing, Beth Noel of the Marketing Office and her staff. I'm excited. We have a few people who ended up not arriving, had signed up, but we have 11 people reading today. And this is both a reading and contest. If you don't have, I think I got ballots to everybody, but you're going to you're going to vote for the best reader, who will win $50, Office of Student Engagement, a check from them. And there's a second prize, though it's not here, I hope, from the bookstore. They are donating a $25 gift certificate to the bookstore, MCC bookstore. So that'll be a second prize. So I'm excited to get started and want to hear these wonderful voices. I put together a random order. Hopefully you have that, and I may make some small changes here and there, but hopefully you have that in front of you. The box for voting is in the back. If anyone needed to leave early, but hopefully you're able to stay through. I forgot my order. Our first reader to start us off is Colby Skepman.
Hello, I'm going to be reading two poems today. The first one is called A Year-Long Winter. Your skin, your heart, your eyes, they grow accustomed to the cold when you spent so long in its sharp hands. You become numb, you become complacent. His knife-like hands that shocked you at first touch now feels like a sudden tick in your neck. Eyes rolling through a permanent blizzard was something I wore comfortably. Maybe sometimes I wished for clearer eyes, but the touch of winter was a personality trait I had not wished to diminish. It was my signature, my mark on how others viewed me through the storm. Maybe I tried to leave, but it was not without doubt and low-hanging confidence that I traveled through. Even when a faint light seeped through the solid storm, I still held on to his sharp hand out of solitude. Though the light burst through, I just held on tighter out of fear of its illusion. But it pulled me up, and I couldn't help but welcome it as if winter had not been my loyal parasite. But spring was hot, burning, blinding. And now I was afraid I was being tricked, as if her heat and warmth was all blindfold to distract me from the long winter behind. I didn't know what this was. No, that's a lie. I knew it had just been so long I had forgotten. The very memories were dug to haunt me of the last spring, the last fresh breeze. But I tossed my ghost aside and trusted spring. Yet I would still try and look past her for any signs of my old friend winter. There was none, and this terrified me. Spring was a suspicious breath of fresh air, something I had given up on looking for. But spring continued to comfort me, continued to hold me, continued to show me what it was like out in the cold. And now I'm afraid to say I've grown accustomed to her soft hands and warm hands. Spring is my joy, and my joy is chained to spring. This is not healthy, I know, but my legs won't stop walking further, and this frightens me, like walking on a plank in the dark. But my joy is worth it. Sometimes I wished to have continued to live in ignorance of this overwhelming warmth. At least then I'd be safe from winter's hands again. I was not ready for them. I never will be. My eyes wandered over spring's shoulders trying to see if another winter is upon me, but I didn't see one. The next poem was called His False Shield. Don't hate, they said. It's overwhelming. It's exhausting. It's not productive. Fuck them. I love to hate. Some people don't deserve my forgiveness, and when they don't get it from me, they seek it elsewhere. Why? You think God is going to give you salvation? Fuck what anyone else begs upon. I hold a weight even stronger than any God over your soul. That ungiven, unforsaken forgiveness that lifts above your head. A parachute that can be pulled to let you fall with grace from heaven, but I choose to let you fall, because I love to hate, and I love the feeling of being higher than you, and I adore the sight of your downfall. When I don't give you the key to weightless, fabricated reality, you grasp onto the blood-covered promises of an unknown God. But that's not how it works. God didn't get my permission first. Thank you.
Thanks for starting us off, Colby. And our next reader is Kaylee Bergeron. I always have to
What up? All right, so my name's Kaylee. That's actually Gaelic for a visitor gathering. Contemporarily, it's used for, somewhere where there's dancing and music, but like back in the day, it would be something like this, a gathering where people tell poetry and short stories. So this first poem is called Irish Blessing. Malicious monarch parasite, Pez dispenser-shaped, pus-filled monument to imperialism and genocide. Physical embodiment of the bloodlines that imposed famine, that forced my family from their fields. These Irish eyes have been smiling since the death of the Queen. I hear God save the Queen, then pray to the Pope that God hate her. God hate the Queen. God fuck the Queen. God condemn the Queen. Give all blessings to the Commonwealth and a hex to her only. I don't come from supers. The more soup that was offered, the more they marveled Mary. Pope and the Pope kept them afloat till they united with this American mess and unknowingly force-fed their children to the unhinged jaw of the clergy. The great-grandchildren are still pressed in cities, clinging to corned beef and Catholicism, shamrock patterns and JFK memorabilia, not even cable sweaters and soda bread. This is all we've kept. My Grammy was so proud when I came out with red hair, screaming like a baby banshee and brawling already. They gave me a Gaelic name but changed the spelling to make it easier for English speakers to read. They still say it wrong. Even though it isn't spelled right, it's the only time we speak the language we never got a chance to hear. Gaelic is nearly dead now, but the joke's on Elizabeth. God fuck the Queen. That weekend at Bernie's meets Regina George-ass bitch. How many of you have been personally victimized by the Queen? God fuck the Queen. Every 6 days, the nation celebrates their freedom from that family. Every 6 days, we remember all our family that had to die to reclaim their land. People are still dying. Do the people in African commonwealths live to be 96? What kind of Stockholm syndrome and self-loathing must a peasant have to mourn a monarch and disrespect their own lineage in such a targeted way? The last people to see the Queen waited 35 hours and didn't even spit on that bitch. As they answer the reporter through smiles, I understand why those cowards never demanded a constitution. There are no illusions or desire for freedom in England. Even the air infringes on their life. But we fought a whole war, so I don't have to care. May the wind be always at your back and the Queen below your feet. May our ancestors hold her in the palm of their hand as they guide her to her eternal colony at the center of hell. All right, so this one's a little softer. My love is a trash can. My love is a trash can crashing through a window at City Hall, any City Hall, every City Hall. My love is the baker's mitt covering your hand giving you the courage to return tear gas canisters to their owners. My love has thrown hands, improvised weapons, chanting on the front line, taking a bite to the face. My love is the wick of a Molotov, a cop car on fire, chanting on the front lines. Kids popping wheelies, singing songs of liberation as they pass. My love is not the hangar that aborted the American dream, nor the doctor that tried to revive it. It was unviable from conception. My love stretches me thin as the premise of justice on stolen land. My love is out of my hands, but it will cut theirs off.
Thank you, Kaylee. And our next reader is Owen Grady. Owen.
Alright, mine's pretty short, and some of you guys aren't heard from class, but maybe.
Tall people.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's great.
Home. Home is supposed to be a place of peace, a sanctuary to feel calm. Why do I want to leave so badly? Why does it feel that I'm never in this place? It comes and goes like everything else in this life. Home is not a house, no. A place, no. A people, no. We're supposed to feel at home in this world, right? I mean, Earth is our home, our world. Why does it not feel this way? Why do we treat it like trash and expect it to keep spinning? Whoa. Let's not get too far down that path. So home is not a house? I guess I'm home even when I don't feel like it. I guess I'm my home even when I don't feel it. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. Adjust our mics here for height. Our next reader is Woods James.
Hello, everyone. I'd just like to preface this poem by saying one of the characters uses they, them pronouns. So when I say they, I'm referring to one person. And just like there's Mr. and Mrs., the prefix for someone who's non-binary or gender fluid is MX, pronounced mix. So this is Mr. and Mix actor, a dramatic irony. It's funny, isn't it? They were on the stage, always in the spotlight. He had to be dragged into the building. They were an extrovert. He hated people. They had many friends. He was a friend by association of them. They always wore a mask on stage and in real life. He never had to hide. He hated people for no good reason and didn't try to fake it. They would always be smiling and laughing, constantly surrounded by people. He would stand awkwardly and wait for them to be done. Given this information, you would assume they were the actor of the duo, right? Funnily enough, you wouldn't be correct. They were so in love with him, and everyone knew it. He was in a relationship with them, but he didn't like them. Everyone could see it, except for them. He treated them badly, arguably worse than most other people he had the displeasure of meeting. But they adored him. He rejected them at first. They were crushed, but something made him change his mind. Thankfully. Or was it really a good thing? He only talked about two things, his ex and his stories. And he certainly talked about those subjects a lot. But they had many passions and interests, yet would get called annoying if they spent even a second more than a minute trying to talk about them. It was much worse for the two than what went on in front of people. Their situation was like that of a play on a stage, scrutinized and studied by the audience of their friends. The relationship appeared badly on the stage in front of the audience, But no one knew how bad it truly was when the curtain closed and the lights went out. He messed up his lines a few times, like bringing up his ex in front of their friends. But he was careful to never mess up his blocking and choreography, for that would prove to be fatal for his already not so great reputation. They forced a smile and tried quickly moving past his mistakes when he made them in front of the friends. They were infatuated with him. He couldn't care less about them. Everyone knew it, everyone except them. It's as if he had an aside, speaking aloud, but just to the audience's ears. He practically admits constantly that he is not fond of them. While they do not hear this directly, they can feel it. But they live in a state of denial, because who are they without him? They are an actor on the stage and in real life. He never claimed to be anything he wasn't. He treated them horribly. They thought it was okay, rationalizing the behavior by constantly telling themselves that this is just what love is. The audience, the friends, were the only ones who could clearly see the ending and the trouble their beloved friend was in. They were in denial and refused to believe any wrongdoings and traumas inflicted upon them by him was truly all that bad, simply because it could have been worse. He never pretended to like them, but they were so blind by obsession and delusion that they truly would have believed he was a good guy. Finally, the mask started slipping, but it was too late. Desperately grasping for something to save this relationship, although no outsider would have even called it such, they never knew what love was, and they never will. Not after him. The play ended, the curtain fell, the relationship was over. He was fine. He was cold, uncaring, heartless. He would never bother to step foot in a theater ever again. They would never step foot in a theater ever again.
Thank you, Woods. Fiction in the mix. Stephen, what do you think? All right. So our next reader is Stephen Hanstein. Stephen.
Two very short poems. This one's called After the Leaves Changed, but Still Before the Raking. The grass is still green enough despite the discontented draft of autumn air, unrestrained by sunshine, starlight, and summer past. I would beg for silence, but the moon proclaims a howl unto itself in all the hills between us and that hickory we knew when we were young. This is how the wind blows, a prayer from then to now. Quiet as the first frost in October, then raucous as the homecoming dance music and stomping feet on the green grass, while still green enough to hope our discontent will drift away back to that autumn air, unrestrained by years, by yearning, and one magnificent yawp. Even shorter, for the stranger who saw me in the park the other day. Suppose you find me crying on a bench covered in splintered and green peeling paint. Is that who I am? I apologize for asking you to consider this audacious thing, a man made minuscule by a moment. But it seems important to consider the possibility all you will ever see is my life exploding quietly without music. And I would beg you this tiny indulgence, this treasure of imagination, that even a man like me might just be more. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Stephen. And Stephen is manager of the Middlesex bookstore who donated our second prize, so thank you, Stephen, for that. Our next reader is Ray Engage. Ray.
Alright, how does that sound? Sound good? Yeah. Good. Alright, so I have some fiction here. There was some blue in the sky, just far enough away to give Juliana hope. While the storm battered against her shelter, pine branches and ferns moved with clay, sun shone in the distance, and light came down and rays through the storm clouds. Her stomach had long since given up its growling, and she wished her body would stop trembling. Any movement was a waste of energy. She sat cross-legged in the fire pit, shielding a little flame with her body, and holding onto the warmth of damp coals and embers beneath her thighs. This is the last storm, she whispered to herself, over and over. This is the last storm. The sunlight wasn't mocking her. It didn't dare her to chase it. Daylight was coming to banish this great darkness, and divine winds blew the clouds and out into other lands. Whether the cuts, the bruises, or the cold that broke in her every nerve, Juliana could hardly feel her arms or legs. Even her broken ankle had gone numb. The thought of sunshine on her face was all that kept her eyes from closing. She hunched over the flame in her lap, letting any rain that got through her shelter break upon her back. Wind howled and cold rainwater cut at every still living nerve. How long she'd survived out here? 5 weeks? 7? She stopped counting after day 25. It had been too long. Nobody was coming for her. Nobody would find her out here in that stretch of the Honey Valley, where hikers were banned from treading. Juliana couldn't help herself. Couldn't help but seek out natural wonders hidden away from human eyes. Now all her dreams were of cityscapes, of houses with electric heating. She clenched her teeth together. She would survive one more storm. She would not leave this fire to burn her own. It had stayed alive through storms and wild animal attacks alike. It had given her burning sticks to wield as weapons, its light to forge by, and its warmth to fill her heart and sustain her flesh. But still the rain and wind raged against her. They bit like starving dogs. Juliana breathed in whatever smoke she could, cherishing every warm ember and fleck of ash that stuck to her throat and lungs. Her mother always said to stay away from cigarettes, never said a thing about campfire ash. The light moved closer and the wind blew harder. Her shelter creaked and groaned as the storm clawed at it. Pine needles were stripped from its roof, and the dried clay in order grew slippery as the rain saturated it. Even the muddy ground beneath her lean-to's foundation began to shift. If the fire survived, Juliana knew she would too. Its flame was small, a mere shadow of its former fury, but it still burned hot enough that she dared not touch it. The searing, radiant heat was a reminder that her body was her own, not just an element of flesh to be devoured by nature itself. The rain subdued the hot coals into a quiet warmth, and she dug her fingers down into the ash. Her cargo khakis were reduced to shorts now. Thorns and jagged stones made sure to slice them away. Juliana wished she couldn't see her legs, wished they were covered. Her inner thighs were nothing but raw skin and scabbed up cuts from long hours of crawling across the forest floor. Her outer thighs were frozen, sacrificed to the rain for the rest of her body's sake. Her knees and shins had long since been buried beneath the surface of the ash-filled fire pit. The bruises and cuts hidden away from the elements. Her shelter collapsed. It dumped its water and mud on top of Juliana. She shivered hard and her eyes were water and had her teardrops not frozen. The snow hadn't come yet, nor would it for some weeks. Had she an igloo, nature would not have dared to demand her life as payment for her life. But the roaring thunder called her mortal soul. It screamed for her to submit. She defied its rage, denied it the satisfaction of easy prey. Juliana watched the sunlight grow ever closer. The flame was weaker now. The water trickled down her back and across her torso, snaking its way into the bed of coals. She scrambled to consume the dying fire's heat. She sucked in the smoke and hunched over, close to the flame. It was dying. Its life had lasted the week she'd been here, and now it was dying. No, don't leave me alone, ran through Juliana's mind over and over again. The fire had no pride. I'm sorry that I used you. I'm sorry. She rambled on as the fire fought to boil and make me up to sand. But the battle was done, and for a moment. Juliana lay down in the ashes and screamed. Stronger forces in nature than men were before. She reached the summit of Everest. She'd sailed in hurricanes, and she'd been lost in the Sahara. Northern Canada would not reduce her to a corpse. The light was on its way, and had her arms any strength to reach outward, she might have even felt its warmth. She owed her life to those she lost every day, to the dead flames and fallen branches who gave her up, to the very lives that protect her from the wrath of life itself. I won't let them die in vain, she told herself, and refused. And as her hands went cold and the ashes washed away, leaving her body without protection, Juliana felt a gentle stream of molten gold pour down onto the crown of her head. Even as the rain still pelted her back, she looked into the blue sky, into the golden sun. Two gods raged up above, and the mercy of one drove away the love of the other. She threw her head back and screamed again, defying her fate, defying the fall that left her lost and stranded, defying every inner voice that gently told her to let go. A new thunder raged in the sky. This one born of steel and petroleum rather than clouds and lightning. A pile of the Valkyrie above beat students around the clearing, mere steps away from her camp. Fell beneath the tree line, the thunder settled to a rumble. Light warmed Juliana's buffalo body now, light shining down on her as she prayed the Lord. Only a little fire or two to celebrate this victory. If only a brave little shelter could still the breath of the rain and the wind. She used all her strength to push her hands into the ashes, and curled her fingers around the carbon coal. Men in orange jumpsuits came running out of the clearing, a stretcher formed between the four of them. Juliana held tight to that coal even as they lay her down and flew her away. Ash blew into the wind off of her skin and scattered across the forest as sabers carried through the broken body away into the blue sky. Juliana clutched that coal. She clutched it really tight.
Thank you, Ray. Our next reader is a write-in, so she added a little after I had made copies of this ballot. So if you can, at the bottom, write in Samia's name, S-A-M-I-A. Her last name is Ahmed, A-H-M-E-D. Throw Samia's name down the bottom and think about whether we can vote for her in the end. So next up, Samia, all yours.
Thank you. So I printed this a little last minute, obviously. So I grabbed an old high school emo poem that I figured would work, so bear with me. It's called Fighting the Familiar. Nameless faces whisper around me, though I swear to the floor. I plead for help, but no one hears me. They always leave me. Left to my own devices, I end up falling, always back to where the darkness is calling. For its seductive whisper is hard to resist. With the promise of numbing sorrow, the only thing that feels normal when you feel so hollow. The dark is my predator, it's where my demons hide. It's my only friend, the only thing familiar in my eyes. The sun still rises, even with the pain, but when it comes up, it feels in vain. Day by day, life drains from my fragile core. The story of tragedy is etched in my face, that is clear to see. But when it comes to making things better, no one knows what to say to me. Wish me luck on my endeavors, pray I can find pleasure. Help me recreate myself because I'm never going back. Leave now before you get invested in a lost cause. Just don't leave me alone.
Thanks, Samia. Our next reader is David King. David.
I have no idea. There we go. Thank you. Hello, hello. I'm going to be reading a short little poem I wrote about a character from a story I'm working. I cry when I feel sad. I grin when feeling distraught. Despite the evil you seek in my deeds, a villain I am not. I power myself, overcoming my flaws. There is no crime in reshaping the law. Call me bastard for seeking change. Call me psycho for being sane. A naive fool, you claim to know pain. Take it from me, the most humane. And I have one more here that I wanted to share with you all about the worst feeling in the world. I call it the feeling of horizon. I look beyond my vision. I see beyond my sight. I half feel like crying, yet the world is dimly bright. I sometimes catch myself within a mellow tune. It is not sad, it is not glad, yet it fills me with gloom. In order to shift my focus, I look about my room. Left to right, no black nor white, just an absence of hue. No lack, no fill, no heart or goodwill, no thought of suicide, nor actions of ill. Just an empty void between the bright within the night, a feeling of horizon. There is no end in sight. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And our next reader is Willie Ramirez. Willie.
Cold Day, which begins with a quote by Samuel Beckett. Sun shone, having no alternative, on the nothing new from earth. A cold day. A reading at Little Crepe Cafe. The social dancing in the city, the bars, the nightclubs, the glowing of dresses and pants, in high heels and super sneakers, the working schedule and the daily coffee, the colleagues and friends, the airplanes jumping back and forth, concerts, vacations, shopping malls, hiking and dancing and exercise, chilling as the facts might be, the reading of poetry with such cold tranquility. Despite 19 and counting. And why? Because perhaps or maybe the possibility of falling here and there, never mind the pure breaking of things, to endure the uncertainty of limitation, to throw and catch for play and word, of here and there, the throwing and catching of flies, flying things from everywhere into nowhere, perhaps boxes and boxes of cardboard, of flying chairs and flying tables, things for nothing and no reason to exist, perhaps or maybe, for sure, uncertainty, the coming of more painful days. Oh, my daughter, despite 19 and counting, do you see me? Do you see me? Or do you see, like me, the concerts and fiestas and discos and the marching forward of men and women? Do you see the ghost who holds your hand? Do you see the ghost that also carries your bag to school, my daughter? Despite 19 and counting, flowing in the air, not knowing if to turn right or left or to keep straight. Why straightness in a world with so many angles? Why is an angle in a world with so many curves? What is a curve in a world with so many questions? Of here and there, perhaps or maybe, despite 19 and counting. And that was a poem in reaction to the massacre of the elementary school that happened during the summer or springtime, I forgot. A plant for love. A plant for the moment when the water spills over. Not for the perpetual life of the gods, not for the love of duendes feed on, a plant for love without morals, not for the tyrant, creator of good and evil, oppressor of instincts and impulses, a plant not bowing down to books civilized by the sword, not to the creed of dictionaries that stained the words, not climbing the towers of the faithful who ascended blindfolded for the moment of water, a plant for love without country, free from borders, castles, and armor, free from the devil of cheating, and from the unfaithful knights of lovers, and the upright warrior of treason, without institutions or impositions, without princes or princesses, without knights or maidens, far from the books of false sages. A plant for love of open windows, without doors or keys or padlocks or jams, made of steps and experiences, of journeys and risks, of labyrinths and mountains, of jumps into the abyss. A plant for the God of flesh and spirit, for the food and the instinct, for vertigo and impetus, for drunkenness and rapture, for the instant and the delirium and the agony. A plant for the truth of distant centuries and of duendes, of men and women of flesh and bone, the one from the moment when the water spills over. For giants, a plant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Willie. And our next reader is Neil Ferrer. Neil.
Hello? Can you hear me good?
Hey, how you doing?
So this poem I wrote. This poem I wrote because I listened to a song that was by Franz Ferdinand called Michael, and so I wrote a poem that inspired me, but that made me think of that song. And the name of the poem is "I'm Too Shy to Say Any of This." Let's pretend that my room is a dance floor and my anxiety is something to ignore. But I don't need to pretend how much you make me swell and flush. So let us listen to the rain in our beating hearts while we say the sweetest and cheekiest remarks. You beautiful boy, I want to love you. The things I want us to do are so taboo. So press your lips to mine, make our lovely savagery benign, as our hearts will align. Fuck me against the wall, make me feel small throughout the nightfall. And when our smutty urge is no more, call me your little whore, and maybe, wait, is name calling one of you a turn off? Sorry, I'm still really new to this. Do you ever want to hang out sometime? And this next poem is one that I wrote in the first semester, and it's titled "Boys at the Beach." Did you see him today next to the bay, where your tongue twisted and disobeyed? As the waves break their predictability, your thoughts contort to instability. He gives you a smile, approaches with a greeting, a feeling of renaissance upon your first meeting. His eyes a clear blue, emerging from the sea, The sun shines behind his golden hair brightly. And you spoke, swallowing your choke. His lips glide, what a lovely divide. His eyes are on you, a desire grew. You idiot, why won't you pursue? His lips brush against yours, but you don't pull away. Your heart beating scores, why did you leave him astray? Why are you so coy? Is it wrong to kiss another boy? You're not in high school anymore, and your parents will finally let you explore. You see him today, well don't delay, he must be waiting for you by the bay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. See if we can make that too bad. Thank you, Neil. And our next reader is Bridget Landers. Bridget.
Hello there.
Hey there.
This first poem is called Questions of the Weeping Willow. Why does the willow weep, its long leaves festooned to drooping branches, a bowed head in gloom, seemingly unchanged by the season? The wind bellowing towards it, forcing it to move against its will. Could it weep because of the small nibbles left behind by an insect's want of fullness? The constant annoyance of the electric generators, their humming drowning out most of the ambience. Or that its roots do not reach far enough, or its branches not high enough. I often wonder about the willow. How long has it graced us with its very presence? What critters peruse its mighty body, if they have made it home? And of course, why does the willow weep? My second poem is called Ode to My Cubby. Every night, Cubby, you lie on my bed, very close to my pillow, my love. After a long day, I come through my bedroom door into your embrace. The sagginess of your body, the glint in your sunken eyes, and thus embraced by your unfailing loyalty. Whenever I take a long trip, listen to the thunderstorm, you are always there for me. I would never abandon you, as I know you would never do the same. And if I die, let me embrace you as they lower us down in the grave. Thank you.
Bridget? Our mic is going to stay out, I guess. So, thank you. Lots of great readers. And I'm going to pitch in a couple poems myself to finish things off before we do our voting. And the voting, the prizes are only for students, and that's why the boxes are there only besides student names. We have some other readers who are not students. I taught many years ago in prisons, and one of my students at MCI Norfolk many years ago has been in the news for the last few years, and finally, earlier this year, his sentence was finally commuted by the governor and the governor's council and the parole board, and he's finally out after 31 years, time he should not have spent in prison. And I got thinking about him in my teaching in prison over the last year. This is a poem about him called Prison Class. And I had so much to write about him and had done so much that went on and on, I decided to try a form. And this is a villanelle, which has a lot of repetition and crystallizes some of my thoughts. Prison Class. In any other culture, he'd be a prince, whispered the guest writer I brought to prison that night, knowing of his poor court-appointed defense. A bright high school athlete with a mother from Port-au-Prince, he became a Marine to keep college in his sights, though in any other culture, he'd be a prince. On leave, his warning shot above the bat-waving mob was self-defense, fleeing a party detonated by a racial fight. But his was a poor court-appointed defense. Inside gray walls, the young men spoke of quiet confidence, of Welty, Faulkner, Baldwin, and Updike. I felt in any other culture he'd be a prince. At trial, no ballistics that might have proved his innocence, but a white man was killed that night. A shame about the poor court-appointed defense. Decades he's been behind walls ever since the judge gave him natural life. In another culture, he might have been a prince, but instead he got a poor court-appointed defense. Luckily, has had a happier ending since, as he is finally out. And a short poem, Kobayashi Issa is a Japanese poet who lived in the 17 and early 1800s. Much haiku and very well known. And this short poem, I just a few days ago was accepted in a journal, the Orchard Poetry Journal. And so I thought I would read it, my first time reading it publicly. It's called Walking After a Snowstorm with Kobayashi Issa. The neighborhood's spruce frosted against a blue sky. Puff of snow, a druid's pipe hidden beneath boughs. White pine's delicate fingers flicker with sunlight, their rays warming taps, snowy house of cards downward. Mist sparkling now in the breath of this birdless day. Thank you. And I want to thank everybody. Let's give a big round of applause for all of our readers today. And I want to ask you to take a minute to first vote for the reader you think did the greatest job and the strongest work today. Check that off. On the back there are ballot questions. What's up? Nope. These are ballots. You don't need to write a name, just checking off who your choice is. But on the back, I'm sorry, I thought I had that. On the back are also ballot questions. We have a couple of things coming up, and one of those is a special, I want to put the overhead here, a special MCC night at the Untitled Open Mic in Lowell. It's a wonderful reading group there and very active, lots of people of all ages, but lots of people who are younger than me, certainly. There's a lot of 20-somethings and teenagers and early 30s and people doing performance poetry, stories, songs, all sorts of things. And so it's really great. I want to encourage everyone to plan that and want you to make any arrangement you can at 6 p.m. It has open mic and it also has a featured reader. And so we've decided to sort of have a celebration of a Middlesex night there and it's made arrangements with them. So hoping that people can read. Even if you don't read, you can cheer for other Middlesex students and faculty who are going to be reading there. And I happen to be the featured reader that night. So that rounds it out as a Middlesex night and seems to figure there. I have a chapbook that came out last summer and they wanted me to read as a featured reader. The possibility of, if people are interested, of the Office of Student Engagement hiring a shuttle bus from this campus and or the Lowell campus to that location is possible. And so if you're interested in that, if you can check off and whether you'd want to do that. And there are courses that are held next semester and just informational for us, maybe sense of people's interest in what they're thinking about for classes. And the last question is whether you enjoyed this reading. So we'll see. So take a couple minutes. Willie and I are going to count the votes while you, after you make your ballot completed and put in the ballot box at back. And after you do that, if you grab a snack and hold on a minute, we'll do some counting and calculating and go from there. Great work. Drum roll, please. Here we go. So, again, thank you, and maybe one more big round of applause for everybody today. It was great to have you. Thanks to everyone who contributed. Thanks for people who voted and didn't, necessarily read today. Thanks for being here on this beautiful day. So, the votes have been tallied by the election committee of Willie and
The lovely Willie Ramirez, everybody, give him a round of applause.
So, we have two prizes, and the first prize winner gets a $50 check from the Office of Student Engagement, and the second prize winner will get this gift card, $25 to the Middlesex Community College bookstore. So, the winner is Kaylee. Awesome. I'll get information from you and we'll get things to you. And second most votes, Colby. Colby. Don't forget that. Good work. Help yourself to snacks and drinks here. I've got lots here, and you want to take some things home, cupcakes and fruit, whatever you got. So again, thanks so much. And again, put that on your calendar for the 16th event here. And yes. Oh yeah, and shoot. Oh yeah, and I'm yes.
So we do a visiting writer series where we bring a published writer and come here. This year we had Daniela Allegro of Georges. She came into a creative writing class and she also gave a reading here. That was last week. Well, we usually have one a semester. This semester we have two. And this semester we decided to have, for our MCC Visiting Writers series number 2, we decided to have Tom read his work. So we will love you to join us and listen to Tom. And he's going to be reading in Lowell on Thursday, December 1st. From 12:30 in the Federal Building, the Assembly Room. So hopefully you'll have an opportunity to go and support Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.